Lieutenant Ava Hendricks piloted the small reconnaissance shuttle toward the remote planet of Sirion. She sat in the cockpit, her eyes fixed on the view screen. Jagged mountains and deep valleys spread out below a green atmosphere. Ava felt a mix of hope and tension. Humans had never made peaceful contact with the native Zalid people before. Her mission was to open a path for friendship and trade. Yet as she guided the shuttle down, she could not shake the worry at the back of her mind. Without warning, a wall of violet light tore through the sky. A fierce plasma storm raced across the horizon. The shuttle shuddered and alarms blared. Ava gripped the controls and called out to her small crew. "Brace for impact." She fought to keep the ship steady as the storm's energy crackled around them. Lightning arcs bent like living fingers seeking to tear the hull apart. The shuttle groaned under the strain, metal twisting and sparking. With a final violent jolt, the shuttle broke through the storm's edge and plunged toward the uncharted wilderness. The view screen flashed red as the craft shook. One moment, Ava saw trees shining under the plasma glare. The next, the hull cracked open, and the cockpit filled with the smell of burnt circuits. The shuttle's engines cut out, and they fell in silence. Then the ground rushed up at terrifying speed. When she woke, Ava lay on cold grass. The sky was dark except for distant electric flashes. Dust and debris littered the clearing. Her head throbbed, and her suit visor was cracked. She sat up slowly and took a deep breath. The shuttle lay half buried at the edge of a rocky cliff. Smoke drifted from the broken engines. 2 of her crew members had escaped, but one still lay trapped inside. Panic tried to rise in her chest, but she pushed it down. Cautiously, Ava pressed, her hand to her comm unit. No signal, no response. She knew she was alone. The forest around her glowed with bioluminescent plants. Strange vines pulsed like living veins. She checked her sidearm and survival pack. Everything was damp and covered in ash. She rose to her feet and called out, "This is Lieutenant Hendricks. Anyone copy?" Only the wind answered, carrying distant growls and the whisper of alien leaves. As she moved away from the shuttle, Ava spotted movement between 2 glowing trees. She crouched behind a jagged rock and watched. A tall figure emerged on 4 slender legs, its body wrapped in natural armor of smooth green plates. Atop its shoulders sat a second being, tall and lithe with eyes like polished amber. The creature on its back carried a long spear tipped with shining metal. Ava froze. She realized she was face to face with a Zalid warrior. For a long moment, neither moved. Ava's finger hovered over the trigger. The Zalid warrior tilted her head, studying this strange human in a bright suit. The warrior's skin showed faint, patterns that glowed under the storm's light. Her hair was tied back in a braid of white and silver. Despite her weapon, her stance held both strength and grace. The alien rider's eyes narrowed, but curiosity held her motionless. Ava lowered her weapon slowly. She raised her open hand in a gesture of peace. "I come in peace," she said, her voice steady, though her heart pounded. The warrior tensed, and then signaled to the 4-legged creature. It made a low sound like a breath. The rider slid down into the grass, keeping the spear trained on Ava. Neither spoke. The tension felt sharp, as if the air itself waited to see what would happen. Next, silence fell, broken only by distant thunder. Ava remained where she was, aware that any wrong move could end badly. The Zalid warrior's face softened slightly when she saw Ava's suit was cracked, and her breath came in slow gasps. She stepped closer and spoke in a soft, musical tone. "Who are you, human? Why have you come to my world?" Ava hesitated, then answered with clear honesty. "I am Lieutenant Ava Hendricks of Earth. I came to make friends, but the storm forced my ship down. I need help." The alien rider's gaze flicked toward the crashed shuttle and back to Ava. She weighed the risk of approaching a human. Finally, she lowered her spear and nodded once. "I am Princess Nira of House Vakar," she said. "Come. You will speak with my people and show your heart." Ava felt relief flood through her chest. She stood and offered Nira a small, respectful bow. The two began toward the wrecked shuttle under the storm-scarred sky. their footsteps, leaving prints in the glowing grass. Behind them, the ember forest seemed to watch as two worlds collided. In that moment, an unspoken promise formed between them. The first steps toward friendship were uncertain and fragile, yet they held the seed of something new, something that could change both their peoples forever. And so, under the violet storm, Lieutenant Ava Hendricks and Princess Naira set out together, bound by fate and driven by hope. Lieutenant Ava Hendricks and Princess Naira moved quickly away from the smoking shuttle. The ground was soft under their boots, and strange plants glowed green and blue around them. Every so often, a distant roar echoed through tall trees whose branches reached like giant arms. Ava kept her hand near her, sidearm ready for trouble. Naira stayed close, her amber eyes scanning the shadows. Despite the danger, both felt a spark of hope. They had each other now, and that small thought helped slow the pounding in their chests. They pressed deeper into the ember forest, where the air was thick with mist and the scent of wet earth. Bioluminescent vines curled around trunks, pulsing in gentle waves of light. Ava had never seen anything like it. She reached out to touch a glowing leaf, careful not to break it. Naira watched with a small smile. "These vines guide us," the princess said. "They point toward water and safe paths." Following the living lights, they weaved between giant ferns and over roots that coiled across the forest floor. Suddenly, a shrill screech split the night. From the darkness leapt a pack of emberhounds, large wolf-like creatures with fur that crackled like embers. Their eyes burned red, and steam curled from their jagged teeth. The beasts snarled and charged. Ava grabbed Naira's arm. "Back! To back!" she called. The two women moved into position, scanning for any opening. The first emberhound lunged, and Ava fired a warning shot that planted a blazing bolt in the ground. Hot sparks flew, but the beast didn't stop. Naira stepped forward, raising her hand in a graceful arc. She sang a low rhythmic chant in the Zalid tongue. The words flowed like water over stones, calming and strong. The emberhounds hesitated, heads tilting as if hearing a distant memory. Then the pack slowed and backed away, their snarls falling to soft whines. Ava exhaled in relief. "Your voice? It helped," she said. Naira nodded. "Our bond with life here runs deep," she replied. "We speak to the forest as though it were family." As the emberhounds slunk into the gloom, the two pressed on until they found a fallen branch to rest against. There, half hidden by ferns, lay a wounded figure, one of Naira's scouts. He looked human in shape, but with green-blue skin and long, narrow ears. A jagged talon had ripped through his armor, and he lay gasping under a canopy of glowing leaves. Naira dropped to her knees. "Keelan," she cried. She knelt beside him, tears shining in her eyes. Ava knelt opposite, scanning for more danger. The forest held its breath around them. Keelan's breath came in shallow bursts. His voice was weak as he spoke. "Princess, you should not have come," he whispered. "The rebels hunt you." Naira gripped his hand. "You will live. Lieutenant Hendricks will help." Ava retrieved a small medkit from her pack and worked quickly to clean and bind the wound. Though the tools were simple, her steady hand and calm words gave Keelan strength. When the bandage was secure, he opened his eyes. "Thank you, human," he said, voice soft with pain but clear with gratitude. Once Keelan rested, he guided them to a narrow path hidden by thick vines. "This way," he said. "It leads to my home outpost. My people will treat your wounds and share food." Ava helped Keelan to his feet, and Naira supported him on the other side. The three moved in a loose line, trusting Keelan's knowledge. As they walked, the bond between human and Zalid grew stronger. Ava asked questions about the forest's strange lights and talking plants. Naira shared legends of ancient heroes who walked under these same trees. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a hidden clearing. There, a small camp glowed softly around stone tents carved from living rock. Zalid caretakers hurried forward, offering warmth and water. Naira introduced Ava as a friend and savior. The camp fell silent in respect, and the caretakers tended to Ava's cracked helmet and torn suit. As Ava watched, her heart swelled with relief. Here, in this secret haven, under glowing branches, she felt the first stirrings of real trust. Night fell fully, and the campfire sparks danced against the trees. Ava, Naira, and Keelan sat together, sharing simple food of roasted tubers and sweet fruit. Keelan whispered of rebel scouts and the danger that lay ahead. Naira set her jaw. "We will face them," she said softly. Ava reached for Naira's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. In the quiet glow, two faces showed hope. They had crossed the crash site, survived the forest, and found allies. Their journey was just beginning, but step by careful step they would move forward, together. Dawn broke gently over the hidden Zalid outpost. Silver mist hovered above the glowing ferns, and lanterns built into living stone began to pulse with soft light. Lieutenant Ava Hendricks stirred from her sleep on a woven mat of fungal fibers. Her muscles ached, but the ache felt familiar and comforting. Nearby, Princess Naira sat in quiet meditation, her eyes closed as she welcomed the new day. Ava rose and stretched, then followed the soft hum of caretaker voices to the central pavilion. Inside, Zalid healers moved between stone pillars, tending to wounded, scouts in cleaning gear. Naira greeted them with respectful nods. One healer, an older Zalid named Soren, offered Ava a steaming cup of herbal tea. Warmth spread through her chest as she drank. The brew tasted of wild roots and night-blooming flowers, strange yet soothing. As they sipped, Naira knelt beside a low pool fed by a spring. She dipped her fingers into the cool water and let it run over her palms. Ava watched, curious. "This spring is sacred," Naira explained softly. "It reflects the true heart of any who look upon it." Tentatively, Ava crouched and peered into the rippled surface. In her reflection, she saw not only the scars of the crash but also the resolve in her own eyes. Once refreshed, Naira led Ava to a ring of stone benches beneath a canopy of glowing vines. There, the scout Keelan sat with other Zalid warriors, sharing tales of the forest. As Ava listened, she felt the barrier between human and Zalid begin to ease. The stories spoke of ancestors braving storms, of heroes who sang to trees and found guidance in their melody. Each word carried a soft echo of hope. When the stories ended, Naira turned to Ava. "Your turn," she said. Ava's cheeks warmed. She inhaled and began to share a tale from Earth, of her grandmother, who once crossed an ocean in a small sailboat to follow a dream. She spoke of crowded cities where lights shone like stars on the ground, of quiet deserts where night stretched, infinite. As she spoke, she saw eyes widen in wonder. After a moment of silence, Soren placed a hand on Ava's shoulder. "Your people speak of courage in many forms," he said, voice like wind through reeds. "You left home to seek friendship under these skies. That is bravery." Ava looked at Naira. The princess's lips curved into a gentle smile. In that smile, Ava recognized understanding, not pity, but respect. Just then, voices rang out from the forest edge. Naira's expression hardened. A patrol of Zalid rebels emerged, armor dark and faces set with suspicion. They halted a few paces away, weapons lowered, but ready. Their leader, a tall warrior with a broken blade strapped to his back, glared at Ava. "What business does a human have in free Zalid lands?" he demanded. Naira rose without fear. "She saved my scout's life," the princess said. "She came in peace and showed her heart." The rebels grumbled, but Keelan and the other scouts stood beside Naira, silent in solidarity. The leader's lips twisted, then he lowered his gaze. "Very well," he muttered. "But we watch you both." With that, the patrol melted back into the trees, leaving only quiet light behind. Ava exhaled deeply. Naira placed a steadying hand on her arm. "Trust grows slowly," the princess said, "but it grows strongest when tested." Ava nodded. she felt a fierce surge of loyalty. If these rebels threatened Naira, she vowed to stand by the princess no matter the cost. As night fell, the outpost assembled for a simple ritual. Each person planted a young sapling beneath the glowing canopy and whispered a hope for the future. When it was Ava's turn, she placed her sapling next to Naira's, two small trunks already intertwined. Closing her eyes, she murmured a wish for unity between their peoples. The sapling's leaves flickered in response, as though accepting her vow. With the ceremony complete, lanterns glowed brighter, and the caretakers offered sweet fruit and soft bread. Ava and Naira sat side by side, sharing the first gentle truths of their hearts. Ava spoke of her fear in the storm and the comfort she felt when Naira's chant calmed the emberhounds. Naira described her own loneliness as heir to a divided throne, and how Ava's kindness had given her new strength. In that quiet moment, two souls found a bridge across the gulf of stars. They clasped hands, and neither spoke of duty or danger. Instead, they listened to the forest's hum and to the soft beating of their own hearts. It was a small miracle, two strangers bound by fate, forging an unbreakable bond through empathy and trust. And so, under the bioluminescent leaves of the ember forest, a human and an alien princess laid the foundation of a friendship that would echo through both their worlds. Their journey had only just begun, but already a new path unfurled before them, one lit by understanding, respect, and hope. Under the silver glow of the twin moons, Lieutenant Ava Hendricks and Princess Naira stood within the ancient stone circle at the heart of the ember forest. The air was warm and still, carrying the soft hum of bioluminescent vines that curled around standing stones carved with glowing runes. For nights they had shared stories and hopes. Now, at last, their connection deepened into something neither had dared to name until this moment. Ava reached out and gently traced the pattern of luminescent symbols on Naira's arm. Naira closed her eyes and turned her wrist, revealing more of the soft, glowing lines that marked her royal bloodline. A hush fell between them, broken only by the distant rustle of leaves. Then Ava stepped closer, her heart pounding in her ears, and brushed a lock of silver-white hair from Naira's brow. Naira looked up, her amber eyes reflecting the pale light. She felt a rush of warmth bloom in her chest. With a soft breath, she placed her hand over Ava's, their skin cool where it met. Neither spoke. Words would only tether the feeling so strong between them. Instead, Ava leaned in and their lips met, a gentle, respectful kiss that carried all their gratitude, wonder, and unspoken promise. They moved together with tender care, guided by two hearts that spoke in silent rhythm. Around them, the forest seemed to lean closer, as if curious about this new life being woven beneath its watchful glow. Ava's uniform stood between them, a barrier she willingly set aside, returning later to her pack to retrieve a simple blanket, embroidered with Zalid starlight. They spread the blanket on the smooth stone floor and lay side by side, tracing constellations with their fingers and sharing soft laughter that melted any lingering fear. As dawn approached, Naira curled against Ava's side. The rising light filtered through the canopy, turning every vine and leaf into a flicker of gold. Ava brushed her fingers along Naira's arm, awed by the warmth she felt. "You are more beautiful than any galaxy," she whispered. Naira smiled sleepily and traced a circle on Ava's palm. "And you are kinder than any star," she replied. They spoke then of future possibilities, of forging peace between Earth and Sarion through their bond. Each dream unfolded gently, carried on the hush of morning bird song. When they finally drifted into sleep, it was with hands clasped and hearts open, free of doubt. Several days later, as they made their way back toward the hidden outpost, Naira felt a quiet change within her. It began as a soft glow in her bones, a warmth that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. At first, she thought it was the excitement of being near Ava again. But when her stomach fluttered like the wings of a dream bird, she paused beneath a broad-leafed tree. "Ava," she called softly, her voice trembling. When Ava turned, Naira placed a gentle hand on her lower abdomen. "Something is different." Concern flashed in Ava's eyes. Together, they found a small spring whose waters reflected the sky like polished silver. Carefully, Ava retrieved a compact bioscanner from her pack, a tool meant for geological readings and environmental checks. Now it served a more personal purpose. Ava activated the scanner, holding it just above Naira's navel. The device hummed and pulsed, its lights blinking in rapid sequence. Naira closed her eyes, waiting. After a tense moment, the scanner beeped twice, a pattern Ava recognized from medical training back on Earth. She looked up, her voice soft with wonder. "Princess, it shows a life growing inside you." Naira's eyes widened, then misted with joy. "A child of human and Zalid." She placed her hand over Ava's where it rested on the scanner. Ava covered Naira's hand with her own, tears shining in her eyes. "A new bridge between our peoples," she said. "A living promise." The revelation bound them in a new way. Neither had expected such a gift to bloom so soon. Naira pressed her forehead to Ava's, and the forest around them seemed to glow brighter in response. For a long moment, they simply held each other, hearts beating in unison. When they finally rose, the path back to the outpost felt changed, as though every step carried the promise of a new beginning. Word of the princess's condition would spread quickly, but in that moment, Ava and Naira walked hand in hand, their bond made stronger by the miracle growing within Naira. As they crossed the threshold of the hidden camp, the Zalid caretakers fell silent, sensing the solemn joy between them. Soren approached, his wise eyes shining. Naira stepped forward, voice calm but radiant. "I carry new life," she announced. "Born of Earth and Sarion, it will unite us if we choose hope." A gentle murmur rose among the scouts and healers. Ava stood beside Naira, proud and tender. Together they faced the gathered people, human and Zalid alike, bearing news that would break old barriers and build new alliances. Though the path ahead would hold challenges in this moment, they embodied a truth stronger than fear. That love, and the life it creates, could change the fate of worlds. Ava and Naira traveled together from the hidden outpost back to the great city of Vakar's reach. The path wound through glowing forests and over crystal streams. Naira rode a swift griffin, its wings beating strong against violet skies. Ava flew beside her in a small shuttle that hummed with human engines. Both felt the weight of what they carried, not only their own hopes, but the future of two worlds. When they arrived at the city gates, a guard of silver-armored Zalid warriors stood ready. Word of the princess's return had spread like wildfire. Citizens lined the streets, their eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Children reached out for Naira's cloak, and elders whispered prayers to old spirits. Ava noticed tension in every face. Some watched her with wonder, others with deep suspicion. In the grand hall of the royal palace, marble pillars stretched toward the domed ceiling. Stained glass windows cast rainbows across marble floors. At the head of the hall, the council of elders waited. They wore robes, of blue and gold, each marked with the sigil of an ancient house. When Naira and Ava entered, the council rose in silent greeting. The air felt cold with formality and long-held tradition. Elder Solon, the eldest of the council, spoke first. His voice boomed in the high room. "Princess Naira of House Vakar," he intoned. "You return from exile bearing a human by your side. Explain yourself." Naira stepped forward, her posture strong. "Honored elders," she said, "I bring a friend from Earth who saved our people. Together we faced danger and saved Scout Keelan's life. I ask that you judge her by her heart, not by her origin." Murmurs ran through the hall. Some elders leaned forward, interested, others frowned, arms crossed. Ava stood beside Naira, her hand resting lightly on the princess's back. When Solon spoke again, his tone grew stern. "And yet," he said, "I hear you also carry another gift, an heir conceived with human blood. How does this serve Sarion's future?" Naira held her breath for only a moment before answering. "This child is a bridge," she said, voice clear. "Our union shows that humans and Zalid can live and prosper together. Our child will carry both our strengths, human courage and Zalid wisdom." Another elder, cloaked in robes of deep red, rose to challenge her. "What of purity?" she demanded. "Our people have kept our line strong for millennia. A human bond risks diluting our blood and our traditions." The elder's eyes flashed with anger. Across the room, other council members nodded in agreement. Ava's heart clenched at the words. Naira held her ground. "Our traditions speak of growth, not fear," she replied. "We have honored our ancestors by learning and changing. They would have welcomed new ideas, not closed their doors." She turned to Ava. "Ava Hendricks is not an invader. She is my friend, my protector, and the mother of my child." At this, Ava stepped forward. She drew a deep breath and spoke in the singer's tongue, a melody-like language Naira had taught her. Though her accent was rough, her words were clear. "I stand before you in peace," she began. "I come from a world that values life and freedom. I begged only for safety and friendship. I ask now for a chance to prove my loyalty to Sarion." Silence fell once more. The council whispered among themselves. The city windows glowed softly in the early afternoon sun, as if the world itself waited. Finally, Elder Solon raised his hand. "We will grant you time to show your commitment," he declared. "You and your child may stay under guard in the palace, but know this: if you fail to win our trust within 3 cycles of the moon, you both will be banished. No Zalid shall speak your names again." Nira's chest tightened, but she nodded. Ava squeezed her hand. Though the terms were harsh, it was better than exile. As the council dismissed them, the princess and the lieutenant were escorted to a private wing of the palace. Their room overlooked the city's spires. From the balcony, they could see the river of light winding through the marble streets. Inside, Ava unpacked her medkit and survival tools. Naira paced the room, worry etched on her face. 3 moons, she whispered. "We have 3 moons to convince them that our bond is more than a threat." Ava set the tools down and moved beside her. "We will show them," she said firmly. Together. That night they planned their next steps. They would host a feast in the palace gardens, inviting council members and citizens alike. Ava would demonstrate human technology that could help Sarion's farmers. Naira would share her people's healing songs and rituals. They hoped to blend human science with a Zalid tradition to win hearts and minds. As the twin moons rose over the palace, Ava and Naira stood on the balcony, hands joined. The city of Vakar's Reach lay silent below, its towers glowing silver in moonlight. Though the council's words weighed heavily on their hearts, a new resolve burned within them. Together, they would face the council's ultimatum and prove that love, hope, and unity could change the fate of both their worlds. Moonlight glimmered on polished marble as Ava Hendricks and Princess Naira stood in the private wing of the palace. Their guards, once firm in duty, now watched them with uneasy eyes. Rumors of secret sympathizers had spread among the royal household. When the hour was right, those few loyal souls slipped keys and whispered warnings. Ava and Nira moved like shadows through the silent halls. Naira's heart raced as she placed a finger to her lips, signaling a guard to open the door. The guard, Seren, a young warrior who had once trained under Ava's calm guidance, let them pass. In the courtyard beyond, a small band of humans and Zalid waited. Keelan and 2 scouts, Ava's wounded comrade Jonas, supported by a soft-spoken healer named Aaron, and 2 other palace servants who believed in the princess's vision. Together, they crept toward a hidden hangar beneath the palace. The rebel patrol posted a single guard at the entrance, unaware of the growing storm within. Aaron used a quiet medical device to send the guard into a gentle slumber. The others exchanged tense looks, then hurried inside. The hangar housed a sleek freighter ship, its hull a patchwork of human and Zalid technology. Its engines gleamed with refusal to idle. Ava and Keelan jumped into the cockpit, activating hidden controls. Blue lights pulsed, wings folded, and the freighter rose smoothly through a secret elevator shaft. Outside they could hear shouts and the distant echo of Zalid alarms. Nira stood at the open hatch, star patterns glowing on her skin. She raised her voice and spoke in the old tongue, calling for calm. Her words carried through the hangar, reaching the hearts of the palace servants, who followed. "We carry hope," she said. "Stand with us." Some cheered softly, others shed silent tears. Even in exile, Nira's presence inspired loyalty. Ava launched the freighter into the night sky. Below them, the palace lights shrank to pinpricks, and the great city of Vakar's reach lay behind. For a moment, silence filled the cockpit as they soared above the clouds. Jonas pressed his hand to his side where the bandage lay, grateful for the healers who refused to leave him behind. They charted a course for the unclaimed frontier, the green moons beyond the serene belt. News of their escape would reach both, the Council and the human coalition. They expected pursuit. Ava studied the navigation panel. "Rebel ships will be on our tail in minutes," she said, voice steady. "We need to move fast." Keelan tapped a holographic map. "There's a supply station on Tarek's moon," he said. "We can dock there, resupply, and lose them among the gas fields." Ava smiled. "Good plan." She guided the freighter toward a path between two asteroid rings. Outside the cockpit, the stars looked peaceful and indifferent to the struggle below. It did not take long for the alarms to blare. A squad of sleek rebel fighters emerged from behind an asteroid. Their hulls bore the dark sigil of the Purity faction. Ava flicked switches and unleashed a flare of ion pulses that lit up the void. The rebel fighters veered to avoid the blast, giving the freighter precious seconds to slip into the asteroid belt. Inside the crowded cabin, Nira and Aaron helped Jonas to a seat. The other servants secured containers of food and water. Nira met Ava's eyes and offered a quiet nod. They could handle the chase. Ava guided the freighter through narrow gaps in the belt. Rocks tumbled past, their surfaces scarred by countless impacts. The rebel fighters followed, but Ava's skill with the ship's thrusters and grav drive kept them hidden behind drifting boulders. After what felt like an age, Ava set a course for Tarek's moon. Its gas fields shimmered in bands of green and gold. The freighter descended through thick clouds until landing pads appeared amid domed habitats. Zalid workers, busy with trade and repairs, froze in surprise as the freighter touched down. Ava and Nira led their small group out into open air. They were greeted by Joran, the station's leader. He was a bulky Zalid with warm eyes and many years of smuggling goods along the frontier. "Princess," he said with a bow, "we did not expect you so soon." Nira returned the bow. "We need fuel, food, and safe passage." Joran grinned. "Then you shall have it, if you offer me something in return." Nira placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Our friendship and our future," she said. Joran's stern face softened. "Then let us work." While the station's technicians refilled fuel cells, Ava briefed their loyal crew. Jonas leaned on Keelan's arm as he checked the freighter's systems. Aaron moved among the servants, passing out medical supplies. Nira joined Ava at the ship's console. "We can make this a home," she said quietly, eyes shining. Ava nodded. "We will with this crew," she replied. "But we must also prepare for the Council's forces." Like a spark igniting dry grass, Nira's and Ava's courage spread among their followers. Joran and the station's pilots offered to train them in basic defense tactics. Ava used the freighter's holoprojector to teach her small group about human strategy, how to hold a position, how to protect the weak, and how to move as one. Nira led drills in the old Zalid way, dancing feet that taught balance, voices raised in unity, and chants that bound hearts together. Each day their numbers grew as travelers and outcasts rallied to their cause. A former council guard, Remorse, shining in his eyes, brought word of the council's fleet massing at the city gates. A human trader arrived from distant star systems, offering supplies in exchange for a place in their new settlement. A small band of freedom fighters, hearing of the princess's hope, pledged their swords to her banner. By the time the freighter was ready to depart, they had more than a crew. They had a true family. Jonas stood with newfound strength. Keelan's scarred armor gleamed in the station lights. Aaron and the palace servants moved like a single unit, carrying supplies and laughter in equal measure. Joran saluted them at the hatch. "May our new dawn come quickly," he said. Ava and Nyra exchanged a look of quiet pride. They had turned exile into opportunity. Their path was still uncertain, and danger would surely come. But now, they would face it with friends at their side, hearts bound by trust and a cause that reached beyond one city or two worlds. As they lifted off into the starry expanse, the freighter's engines sang a promise. Together they would build a new home where hope could flourish and where children of all stars could grow free. Years passed, and the freighter once used for escape now rested on the gentle rolling hills of Nova Spera. The settlement around it had grown from a few tents into a small town of stone houses and shining domes. Human engineers and Zalid artisans worked side by side, shaping windmills from ivory-hued wood and carving water channels that glowed under the twin suns. Where once distrust had shadowed every glance, now children laughed and chased one another through fields of golden grass. In a modest home at the heart of the settlement, Lieutenant Ava Hendricks and Princess Nyra watched their daughter, Leora, take her first unsteady steps. Her small feet pressed softly on the woven mat before her, and her eyes, a bright mix of human brown and Zalid amber, shone with wonder. Ava knelt nearby, arms outstretched, and Nyra stood behind Leora, ready to catch her if she stumbled. Each time Leora tottered forward, they cheered, voices full of pride and joy. Around them, elders from both worlds had gathered for the celebration. Soren, the wise healer who first welcomed Ava, held out a flowering branch as a gift. Keelan, now a captain of the settlement guard, beamed as he offered a braided wreath of leaves. Even Joran, once a frontier smuggler, stood in respectful silence, a simple gesture that spoke volumes of how far they had come. When Leora finally crossed the handful of steps, she reached Ava and then Nyra, giggling as they caught her in a gentle embrace. A hush fell over the crowd, followed by warm applause. In that moment, it felt as if the whole world paused. Two hearts joined in love had given birth to something greater, a living symbol of unity and hope. Later, as sunlight faded into the soft glow of evening, the settlers gathered in the central plaza. Lanterns hung from slender poles carved with the intertwined symbols of earth and Zalid tradition. The air smelled of roasted tubers and sweet fruits offered by grateful farmers. Music rose from drums and stringed instruments, blending the steady beat of human rhythm with the soaring melodies of Zalid song. Nyra stood on a low platform beside Ava. She wore a simple gown of woven starlight threads, light enough for the warm air yet shimmering when she moved. Ava stood in her uniform, sleeves rolled up beneath the insignia of the human coalition. Between them, Leora danced in small circles, laughter like a clear bell chime. When the music slowed, Nyra lifted, her hands and spoke in the singer's tongue, her voice rich and clear. "Friends of Sirion and Earth," she began, "tonight we celebrate not only the steps of a child, but the steps we all have taken together. When we first met under a storm on a distant world, none of us could know where hope would lead us." She paused, looking at Ava, whose eyes shone with affection. Ava took the speaker's token, a smooth sphere crafted from Zalid crystal. She placed a hand over it and addressed the crowd in careful human common. "Many saw only differences between us," she said. "But when we learned to trust, we found that our strengths fit together, like pieces of a single puzzle. What we build here is more than a settlement. It is a home for all who dare to believe in peace." Soft cheers rose and Leora waved, tiny fingers catching the lantern light. The elders nodded, tears glinting on their cheeks. Even some newcomers, travelers from beyond the serene belt, smiled as they felt the warmth of this shared conviction. After all, the speeches, the plaza came alive with dancing and feasting. Ava and Nyra joined hands and stepped into the circle, moving in a simple dance taught by both cultures. The steps told a story of meeting and parting, of fear turned to friendship, of two souls bound by choice rather than blood. Around them, the community followed, weaving a living tapestry of motion and light. When the night deepened, Nyra led Ava and Leora to a small balcony overlooking the settlement. Below, Lights drifted like fireflies among the houses. The twin moons rose in the lavender sky, casting a gentle glow across the landscape. Nira leaned against the railing, Leora asleep against her shoulder. Ava wrapped an arm around both of them. "We did it," Nira whispered, voice soft as the night breeze. Ava kissed Nira's hair. "We did. And this is only the beginning." Leora stirred and snuggled closer. Nira closed her eyes, listening to the steady rhythm of her daughter's breathing and the gentle hum of life stirring below. In the distance, a new windmill turned slowly, harvesting energy from the soft breeze. Farmers tended glowing fields of grain. Children practiced songs at the edge of the forest. Every sight and sound spoke of promise. As the first light of dawn colored the sky, Ava and Nira stood side by side, watching a new day begin. Above them, two suns climbed together, spilling warm rays across Nova Spera. Between the suns, the settled world stretched out, united by the love of a human and an alien princess, and by the child who embodied both their futures. In that moment, Ava thought of the crash in the Ember Forest, the tale of hope Nira shared, the dangers they faced, and the choice they made to trust each other. Nira remembered the night they first held each other beneath glowing vines, unaware that their bond would shape the fate of worlds. Now, as new laughter rose from the fields, they knew their story would live on. In every child's smile, every shared meal, and every step taken toward a brighter tomorrow,